was a nice rough cut intro there. Welcome, everyone. This is Indie Thinking here on Indie Agency News. I am your host, Kyle O'Brien. Doug Zenger is on spring break, so don't bother him if you don't have to, because he's skiing somewhere up on Mount Hood and headed to Idaho after that for some fun with the family. So anyway, thank you for joining us. We're talking today with Noble People. And they've got a concept they'd like to talk about called Budget Balancer. There it is in all its very new agey glory. And we're going to bring Tom and Todd on here in just a minute to talk about that. And we're going to discuss it's Noble People's assistant called Budget Balancer. It helps media investment decisions. And so if you wondered about the future of budgeting and all that it entails, you've tuned into the right place. So we're going to bring them on now. So welcome to the stage, Tom Morrissey and Todd Alchin. Todd, did I get your last name right?
Yes, you did. Thanks, Carl.
Okay, great. And thanks everybody for joining us. And Todd, why don't you tell us what you do there at Noble People?
Sure. I am one of the co-founders of Noble People, and for most of our history, I was heading up strategy. I then moved into more of a marketing role for the agency, but in the last, I'd say, 2.5 years, my focus has become almost exclusively now focusing on AI and how we can sort of be a better company by harnessing what AI can bring.
Excellent. And Tom, I know you, but maybe some other people don't. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do there at Noble People?
I'm just going to call Kyle the AI guru. I am the chief growth officer here, which means that I try to find new clients for our business here, and been here about 8 years.
Great. All right. So let's talk about this. First off, tell us what Noble People does and why you're in the ecosystem here in Indie Agencies.
Tom, you want to go?
This is your everyday. You do this every single day, Tom.
What was the question, though? We are a media agency. We're unique in that I think we've been around 12 years. But we were born out of creative agencies. So we were media people. Todd came from Crispin Porter as a media strategist. Our founders, Greg Marsh and Lindsay Lusberg, were media folks within White and Kennedy. And we created this agency initially to see if we can take a more holistic, creative view of media and the way that intertwines with creative. And that was the initial premise for the agency. And as we've grown over the years, creative media and thinking and finding new spaces and all that is really important. But we've also added the rigor of data and analytics. So we'd like to say that our business is rooted in the important metrics of data and measurement and all that. But we believe as an agency that creativity in media is a hack to growth.
Excellent. All right, so let's jump into this. But first off, Todd, you're a communication strategist who's certified in applied generative AI for digital transformation from MIT Professional Education. Wow, that's a mouthful and impressive. So how do you and your team develop the many GPTs that you use at the agency? Apparently you use quite a few of them. Talk about how that manifests itself in the work and why it's important to Noble People.
Sure. Most of our work in AI happens behind the scenes. Right? So we don't have that many sort of consumer-facing products other than what we're about to talk about. So the last year and a half, I think, building internal tools to essentially like codify the thinking and our point of view that we have as media people inside the industry, and make it a little bit more portable around the agency, right? So if you think of a GPT being essentially like saving a very long prompt, a structured prompt, in order to sort of like give you some sort of output in a particular style or keeping certain things in mind, then that's what we're doing. So we've built, 150 of these GPTs, many of which are just experiments. Like, what if we got it to pretend to do this? And some of them take off. Some of them probably have never been touched beyond just a few people. So I guess our approach, which I imagine is shared across industry and in other, other agencies, is just one of experimentation. It's like, what can we get it to do? And I think, the creativity comes from that thought about what kind of tool could be built. So when sometimes people think AI might be a threat to creativity, there is a big palette of creativity and many opportunities to be creative with it. And currently, the way I see it, at least the way I'm sort of like living sort of my life through it, is use it is where creativity comes from and what you might use it for. So that, I guess that's the meaning.
Gotcha.
Created GPTs that create GPTs. So we've gone deep down the wormhole, and we view it as a gift. You know, I think there's a lot of press out there about people feeling threatened, but it's, you know, we view it as a speed to baseline, and I think some of the industry is kind of shooting themselves in the foot when they talk about efficiency, because that gives the CMO a certain thing about, oh, well, then this will cost less. And really it is about getting faster to where you want to go so you can do the kind of work that you really want to do. So it's interesting to hear the conversation out in the marketplace, and it's moving really quickly.
Right. You know, obviously there's a ton of talk of AI and how it's disrupting, and but you're obviously using it to benefit, you know, not only yourself but your clients and others. I mean, how do you talk to people about getting the fear out of AI?
I suspect the fear lives in those who've used it the least. I think the more you use it, the more you understand how it works or what you might expect from it. Um, Everybody comes to it at a different time and for a different reason. And we talk about like the use case epiphany. And that's usually the moment when you've used AI to do something and it changes you. You realize you will never do it again because this is just such a better way to do it. Or you just see the power in it, you see the potential. And for me, it's a fairly unremarkable story, but we had, it was a former colleague when I worked at Crispin. He was in the agency. He has an AI business called Addition. His name is Paul Aaron. And he came in, and this was around when GPT 2.5 was the current version. So this is before ChatGPT. So it still looked very techie when you used it. And he was doing a bit of a party trick with me. He's like, you know, let's get it to write a haiku about advertising or something. And it came up with this haiku. And I remember saying to him, oh, that's cool. But I guess, you told it what a haiku is, and it's a very structured sort of, format. So I can imagine how it might be able to do that. And he said to me, but I didn't tell it what a haiku was. And for me, I mean, back then that was like the penny drop. I'm like, oh shit, like this is really interesting. And so that was way back then. But I think people are finding the relevance to them in different ways. And we encourage people to use it as much as they can in their personal life. Use it for something that you want, because you'll be more motivated to make it work and more motivated to try things. And then sort of once you've done that, then try to apply that to what you do every day.
Yeah, I think, we view it as compound interest. The more you use it, the better you get at it, and the more useful it all becomes. And sometimes you stumble onto things. Like I was moderating a panel at South by, and I was a little panicked because I didn't know the subject matter very well, and I certainly didn't know the people that I was moderating. So I plugged into GPT. I said, "Here are the people I'm moderating. Here's the topic. Give me 4 themes and 25 questions." And like instantly, I became a journalist, Kyle.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah. Yeah, that's it's always interesting when you have to learn on the fly. I remember years ago when I worked for the Drum, and they had me go moderate a panel for ad tech, and I literally knew nothing about ad tech at the time. So I was backstage talking to everybody that I was going to be talking to. I said, tell me everything you know about ad tech in 5 minutes. And that's how I became an ad tech journalist for that day. So I know how it goes. It's never easy. But I mean, we've come so far, and now you have these GPTs, and the latest one is Budget Balancer, and let's add it to the stage and look at that. Isn't that just looks lovely? So let's talk a bit about Budget Balancer, what it does, and how people can best use it to maximize their budgets.
Sure.
Yeah, I think to get there, Todd, I'm just going to tee it up a little bit because we've been working on this for a long time, and part of our marketing is to talk, to try to help tackle the issues that are facing the industry, and probably the single most pressing issue when we talk to prospects who are searching for a media agency is, how do I find the balance between my brand media and my performance media? What should that look like? Can you guys give us a recommendation? And then Tide and I talked quite a bit about this, and so much good stuff has been written about it. There's a work study recently that is excellent, that has real life examples, but people just don't know how to start the conversation. So, and Todd was, very, he said, I don't know what I can add to this. And then he came up with the idea of the GPT, the budget balancer, which is where we are today, that we're unveiling to the world on your show. And basically it's a way to help accelerate the conversation between the CMOs and CFOs, where there's a lot of tension surrounding budget and allocation and ROI. So that's how we got to this moment.
As a strategy person, I'm tired of talking about brand and performance. But it is such a fundamental question, right? Because it's really about allocating your biggest resource as a marketer, which is a media budget. Is it in the short? Do you allocate it toward the long term or the short term, and what balance? And it's very difficult to do. And there's a lot that we know about this, right? There's a lot of great work done by Burnett and Field, with the IPA, and also like Ehrenberg Bass Institute. So the whole marketing science, marketing effectiveness kind of discipline is incredibly valuable, and it's out there in the marketplace. But not everyone is familiar with it. It's very difficult to do the education role about those things and how those things work in the context of a media strategy presentation. There just isn't the time or the patience to do that. So I guess our attempt in building this tool is to take something that's already in the public domain. So the data that backs this is in the public domain, and remixing it and applying AI in order to make it more digestible. And I think the most important part of the tool is not so much the algorithmic function, which helps you determine, like, is it more brand, is it more performance, and why. It is the why. It's the articulation of what is a rationale behind this? What is the language that marketers can use to their CFOs to explain what their recommendation is about how to allocate their funds in that way. Because I think we can all sort of understand that CMOs and CFOs don't necessarily speak the same language every day. Marketing has its own language and acronyms and shortcuts and things that you need to know. Absolutely. CFOs are less commonly exposed to that language. So the innovation that we brought to this is not in the numbers or the algorithm, because, as I said, that's in the public domain and everyone can access that, but it's more in putting words to that. And then I guess one of the key functionalities of the tool is there's a verbal role-playing function, right? So once you've generated the recommendation, you can have a call with a very real-sounding CFO who just happens to have an English accent, where you can sort of role-play the argument that you're trying to make to them. So he will have the knowledge based on the way that we built the tool. He'll have the knowledge of what the recommendation is. And he'll start interrogating you about why you think we should allocate so much to brand or performance, and how long do you expect payback to take, and why do you think this is the right course of action? So you're sort of rehearsing such a pivotal conversation that must be existing in organizations everywhere at some point in the budgeting year about how we intend to spend the money. And so much relies upon the outcome of that conversation, whether you're convincing, whether there's rationale, whether there's data. And I guess what we're trying to do is just arm the CMOs with that rationale, whatever that course of action is, in order to have a better conversation with their CFO. That's ultimately what it's about.
The only other thing I'll add to that is I think it's a great tool for creative agencies as well, particularly independent creative agencies as a platform, because we get calls from our creative agency friends, because we collaborate with creative agencies on deals, and they're getting asked the same questions. They're being brought in to create a new campaign. Well, how much do you think of our spend should be for what you're creating versus what we're currently doing? So they're getting pulled into this conversation right now. So the ecosystem is actually, this tension is hitting everybody.
Gotcha. So, I mean, walk me a little through this. So, I've got up your page here. Walk me through when people go to Budget Balancer. Okay, you see brand, category, and things. What
Yeah.
is this? What is this trying to establish?
So what it's asking the user to input is basically the main contextual things that any business or brand will be experiencing that have a material influence on whether you should be investing more in brand, more in performance. And those things include the maturity of the brand, the maturity of the category itself, right? If you imagine how people navigate their way through a travel purchase is very different from how they navigate their way through buying a stick of gum, right? So there's more effort involved in one. Different purchases rely upon one's memory more than one reacting to an ad, right? Like accessing memory. In that situation, brand has a much more enduring effect and a much more influential effect over time and over millions of people. So essentially what this guides the user through is just inputting what those contexts are in their case. So the brand size, level of innovation, category maturity, pricing is another one. If you think about a premium brand versus a value brand, premium brands are all about margin more than and to build margin, get people to pay more for you, then you need to build the brand. Value brands are more about volume. So those things lead to different outcomes, and these are the things that have been, I guess, discovered as the influential variables that make a difference. So it's about cutting out all the other stuff that's essentially noise, and getting to, as Tom said, it's like speed to baseline. Like this will get you only so far. But it gets you from zero to like some sort of cohesive and logical argument very, very quickly. And then from there, you can sort of like dig deeper. But essentially, it's helping marketers just like get from, I don't even know, should I just be hiring a performance agency and spending all my money there? Or should I hire a brand? And, the answer is always, it's yes to both. And it's just the degree to which you invest one versus the other. Rarely is there a situation where you only do one.
In fact,
Okay.
Kyle, we could do it live. We could actually give you the prompts if you want to take it for a spin. It'll just take a minute.
Okay, let's see. Let's go here. And all right, so give me a brand.
In the video I made for this, I used Big Kahuna Burger, which is a made-up brand appearing in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yes. All right.
Right.
So that would be a
QSR.
QSR, yes. Okay, so category space established.
Sure.
Say sure, that's established. A purchase method.
I would click online and offline if you think about,
Okay. Oh, so you can click multiple.
Okay. In that case, you can, yes.
In that case, okay. So pricing strategy would be mainstream.
Brand. Yeah.
Yeah. Innovation level.
Let's imagine they're launching a new, like they're launching a limited time offer thing. So let's say new variant.
Okay, great. Brand size and let's see, medium brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all made up.
Yeah. So when it says additional context, what are you wanting them to put in?
This is less likely to influence the actual, like the algorithmic side of things, but it will probably come out in the rationale that's given. So I usually just leave that blank unless it's something.
Okay. So then we're going to generate a recommendation here.
Yep. Takes maybe 20 seconds.
Come on, we're going with Jeopardy themes. Thank you.
What is Pulp Fiction? Yes, you are correct. Next
All right. So the recommendation, considering the dynamics of Big Kahuna Burger, allocating more toward brand growth at 55% and performance marketing at 45% would be strategic. So, and then it gives you all the rationale, level adjustment due to a new variant. So, and it does give the data methodology. So QSR baseline of 49 to 51. Okay. So it gives you all the pros and cons. Increases brand resonance and recall and anticipation of product launch. Okay, so they get all this information, and so now you have CFO memo on the bottom here.
Yeah, click the CFO memo, and it basically puts that recommendation into something that you may choose to use as a draft.
Okay, gotcha. All right, talk about role playing. You're selling to a virtual CFO.
Yeah.
How does that work, and how fun is that?
This is my favorite part of it, and it actually wasn't part of the original plan. So originally, I think it was going to just be a chatbot, so you could have like a Slack conversation with a fictitious CFO. But as this technology became more available and easier to use and implement, we thought this would actually feel more realistic. So if you click that button, you will basically receive a phone call from a CFO who's now received your memo. So he has the context, and he'll ask you a series of questions, and you're basically just rehearsing your argument, but verbally, which might be the way that it happens more often than in a memo, you know. So I think it's just good sort of practice, and I think it focuses mostly on, it's just the communication of the recommendation rather than the recommendation itself. So he's a very friendly and reasonable CFO. And it's a lot of fun, and you very quickly forget that you're not talking to a real person.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does that, I mean, how do you kind of get into that world and have that conversation and forget that? Is it kind of like, okay, you're the Kardashians and you've got cameras following you around all the time, and as you get more into it, you just forget that that's there? Is that the general concept behind it?
It's surprisingly lifelike. The state of the art of voice to voice, like AI technology, is such that, like, if you've used the voice input, or the voice mode, advanced voice mode it's called, on ChatGPT on the mobile app, you very quickly forget that that's not a real person. You can have very natural conversations. It's a leap ahead from like what we're used to with Siri and Alexa, which they get confused very easily. And if you interrupt them, they sort of, you know, it all glitches and everything. Like, this technology now is much more natural. You can step on their toes a little bit, and they'll sort of adjust. And I think it's kind of like the right moment to introduce this sort of feature into something like this, because it kind of works.
Gotcha.
And it's also the most polite CFO you ever talk
to. so British accent. Okay, and even though people can't stand taking calls anymore because they like texting everything, it is a call, and they'll be okay with that, right?
Sure. I mean, imagine it's a face-to-face corridor conversation or something, you know.
Right.
I think the heart of it's still there. Yeah.
So that gets to the next question. Will the bots take us over, all of us, or do we stand a chance in this world?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Just trying to make a living.
I get it. So, I mean, ultimately, what do you want this to do for your business and for the industry as a whole?
Well, yeah, I mean, go ahead. I mean, as Tom was saying earlier, you know, it's a gift to the industry. We're not charging money for it. We're not taking people's email address or anything like that. It's simply something we built just to see if we could. And then why not make it more available to anyone who wants to use it? Because it's such a fundamental question that I think is often approached without enough understanding of those contextual things that make a difference to the outcome. So yeah, it's not a lead generation tool. It may help with our reputation a little bit through conversations like this, but that's essentially what it is.
Excellent. So, I mean, how long has it been in practice, or is it just getting launched now?
Launching it now. You are launching it, Kyle. You are giving this gift to the industry as of this broadcast.
I would put a big bow on it if I had one, and then I'd put it out in someone's driveway and have them open it for their birthday. So, this is a great tool. And for those people who want to get interested in this, how do they find the tool?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. We're gonna hopefully you'll post it. We're gonna be posting once this airs, and then we're going to be conducting webinars to talk about, you know, the brand performance conundrum, the things that you should look at, like that are you know part of the tool itself. So we'll be educating the marketplace. But you know, we talked initially about keeping it, you know, gated and only putting it on our website and having CMOs only, you know, so we would give the demo. But then I think, you know, cooler heads prevail, and Todd's, you know, attitude was, this is something that everyone in the industry is struggling with. You know, I had a conversation yesterday with the former CMO of somebody who spent literally $1 billion in media last year. And she said they're having the exact same conversation. So it's something that everybody needs, and hopefully, you know, we're accelerating the conversation, getting onto the real work at hand. That's kind of the spirit of it. I would also just mention that I think doing this, and you know, Todd's point earlier about the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you are. There is creativity in this. You know, I'll share with you that we we pitched a piece of business last year. It was a founder-led business. The founders happened to have been in the press quite a bit, so we were able to create a GPT in their voice. And when we went into the pitch, the founders weren't in the meeting, but we said, hey, we got some advice from your founders for this meeting. And they said, how did you do that? And I could tell, it's a little bit of pitch theater, but we had done our homework and we had really listened to them, and we came in with a point of view that we thought would be more on point, just by the fact that we came up with this. You could call it a gimmick or what you want to call it, but I think they got it. Like, not only were we tech forward, but we had been really done some research on these guys, and it worked. We won.
That's always good. Winning is good. Okay, let's put this up again. noblepeople.co/budget-balancer. That is correct, I assume, right? I got that off the release, so I'm hoping it's good.
I hope so.
Excellent. So if you want to toy with it, and we just did, and you saw how easy it is to put something in. I really want to talk to the CFO and just find out how polite, even though I have no budget. So we'll see how that goes. Anything else you wanted to say about Budget Balancer or Noble People? Now that I have you on here.
Oh, such a enticing question. I don't know. I would encourage anyone in the marketing industry, which I think everyone is aware that a lot of knowledge work will be augmented, if not replaced, to some degree by AI technology. Just to dive headfirst into it and to experiment. Don't try to create the monolithic kind of tool that does everything and does strategy from start to end. Just break it into smaller parts. Use it on yourself, have fun with it. You'll learn a lot just by doing, more than reading and watching YouTube videos. All those things are great as well, but just doing it, because it's very forgiving. It won't. You don't even get error messages in your LLMs. You just kind of like get a response that might not make as much sense. It's very forgiving.
Excellent.
And I talk to people, and they feel like, everybody has FOMO. Everybody feels like they're not where they need to be in with AI. And I would just say, take a chill pill. Everybody feels that way, and it's not that hard to get caught up. And I think Todd's advice about using your personal life, and actually in an organizational capacity, infusing from the top down, and that's really important to get the culture comfortable with it. We actually had one of our all hands was moderated by a AI bot. And that it was to make a point. It was really fun and cute and all that, but that was pretty early on, and we've been on this now. I guess I think Todd's journey has probably been a couple of years in this. He's been early adopter, and it's infused the entire agency. I'd say jump on the bus, not too late, and just everybody, get everybody involved, and it won't be such a mystery.
Excellent. Great advice. I'll put it up one more time. noblepeople.co/budget-balancer. It's a fun tool. It's a useful tool, and I hope you guys have great success with it. Tom Morrissey, Todd Alchin, thank you for coming on Indie Thinking Live, and really appreciate it. And we're gonna play it out, and just stay on the line, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in today, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thanks, Kyle.